Are you ready?
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 Are you ready to forget your family and your job? World Cup, oh whoa. Football round the clock. Football round the clock. Football round the clock. World Cup, oh whoa. Football round the clock. Oh, oh, oh.
Hello, welcome to Football Around the Clock. I'm your host, Derek. Today, Charles and David join me, and we are going to talk about silly season transfer news. So, let's get straight into it. First point being probably, the biggest transfer of the year, if not, in his whole entire career, except moving for Real Madrid, is Ronaldo going to Juventus in Serie A. Everybody was expecting, a Man U move. Since Mourinho's there, everybody thought, okay, he wants to be reunited, go win, Champions League and Premier League again. But then he baffled us with this move. He said he wanted another different challenge. It's totally different, huge challenge. Let's see what magic he can bring to Juve. David, thoughts on Ronaldo?
Yeah, this is actually, you're saying everyone expected a move. I don't think very many people expected it at all, especially in Spain, because every single year Ronaldo had that same, hey, I'm going to leave. And then it turned out to be mostly let's get more money, make sure, does Real Madrid actually value Ronaldo? That was the move. And each year Real Madrid said, yeah, we value you. So this year, I think it was the perfect time for both Ronaldo and Real Madrid. Ronaldo wanted a big contract to finish off his career. Real Madrid didn't want a big contract. I'm actually really impressed for Juve as well. I think this is going to be really impressive. I know we've talked about it in the terms of the Ronaldo versus Messi debate. Ronaldo's proven that he can do it in the EPL. He's proven it in La Liga. He's proven it everywhere he's been, while Messi's only proven it with Barcelona. So I think that this is another point in that debate. I think it's another point for Juve. I'm pretty sure the day that Ronaldo signed for Juve, there was a 1 million person switch on Twitter followers from Real Madrid to Juve. It's hard to imagine how big he is. I have friends that have never played or thought about soccer at all in their lives, except they know who Cristiano Ronaldo is. So this is an incredible move. I'm worried for him, of course, because he is getting older, and Italian soccer is a little more physical in some ways. He's going to be banged around, and not to get into it too much, but basically he plays his best, as he's aged and as he's become more of a striker than a winger, he plays his best by reserving his energy through the first part of the year and then really showing up in the Champions League when he needs it. But the other point that I want to make is that what else is Juve needed in the Champions League? They needed that X factor, and Ronaldo by definition is that X factor. So you have to say, for all parties involved, this is an incredible move. And let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, your thoughts on Charles Ronaldo? I mean, your thoughts on Ronaldo, Charles. I wish we were talking Ronaldo right now. That'd be awesome. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of disagree with David a little. He knows more about what's going on in Spain, but as far as outside of Spain, they've been talking about it all year. That everybody thought this was Ronaldo's last year, at least in the news media. You heard it coming out of England, coming out of Italy, coming out of everywhere. And you can kind of tell, especially late in the Champions League, the way he was saying goodbye to the fans and really appreciative to the fans. And I know he did that in the past too, but this year felt a little bit different. Mm-hmm. That he really meant it, that this is goodbye, I'm leaving. I've won everything I could win here. I can't do any more. I want more challenges. And maybe it could have been for the money, who knows, or a longer contract. But I kind of felt this was the year and it was coming. Going to Juve was a shock. They had that last minute swoop in. Everybody thought, oh, Man U, he's going back to Man U, no sweat. This is going to be. And then Juve comes with a €100 million bid. Bang. I mean, nobody saw that coming. And I kind of like the move. My verdict is still out whether he's going to be that X factor to push Juventus over the edge to get their Champions League. I mean, he still needs a team around him. And, they have great players. I don't know if they have great players like Real Madrid to be able to, give him that push like Real Madrid did to actually win the trophy. But it doesn't hurt. I mean, he does have Mandzukic. I think Higuain, I think he's leaving from what I heard, probably going to the EPL. Khedira's up in the air. So, there's going to be some changes there, but I like the move. I think Italy's a good league for him. And we'll see what happens with Juve. So hopefully this, it'll work out for Juve and Ronaldo. Yeah. So
I agree. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely really interesting to see how Ronaldo does with Juve. And definitely Serie A's TV ratings are going to skyrocket. Probably triple, if not quadruple.
This is what they need if you really think about it, because they were down. They had all those scandals the last 4 or 5 years, the match fixing scandals and all this. Their ratings went down. They had stadiums that were empty because of teams that were, on probation or whatever you want to call it, because of these match fixing scandals. And they played in front of no fans in a lot of these games. And so this is a good shot in the arm, a good boost for Serie A, and hopefully it'll bring, hopefully they'll be more honest in their dealings, but it should bring the ratings up for Serie A around the world in television.
Yeah, and you can't say match fixing 4 or 5 years. It's been 20 years. I don't know.
Well, okay, it came out in the media big time hardcore the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, just sticking on, I guess, Real Madrid a little bit. David, any news from the La Liga and transfers in La Liga?
Yeah, so this has been an interesting thing. So first of all, to segue, I think that it's a really interesting move for Real Madrid to get rid of Cristiano Ronaldo at this point. Clearly, like I said, he's getting old, so I think it's important for them to get rid of him at some point. But when the Champions League ended and Bale kind of made that hissy fit, we all were kind of confused what's going to happen. Then it kind of got solved by Ronaldo leaving. So Bale's probably going to stay and be the main man. But all in all, that's really going to change Real Madrid as a club. They're going to go from a team centered around the biggest superstar in the world to hopefully a much tighter team that plays more team soccer. Because no matter how good the other players are, Ronaldo was always the first person that they would look to pass to or create. And it was because he demanded so much. So I think it's going to really change how Real Madrid play, and they're emphasizing this by picking up some really young, really good players. They picked up Odriozola, a right back that is just an incredible talent. He's very fast and incredibly technically skilled. He's going to bring a lot of attacking prowess to the table. They've picked up some good midfielders. So Real Madrid, in La Liga, Real Madrid is looking to actually become younger. And, of course, with the Spanish national team coach being their new coach, I think that it's a good match for them as well. But all around the rest of La Liga, it's actually the same story. So Barcelona is doing the same thing. They're getting younger. They've signed some really good defenders, which is kind of what they need. They need some replacements for their aging defense as Mascherano is left and as some of the other players have left. Atletico Madrid is doing the same thing. They got some really good wingers and defensive midfielders. And I guess my point being, every year, they get 1 or 2, but these teams are picking up 4 or 5 or 6. They're reloading really hard, and I think they saw the writing on the wall that their style was maybe aging, or maybe they just needed to advance and push forward. So the one last La Liga transfer that I'd like to talk about is William Carvalho. He was a Portuguese wonderkind that everyone thought was going to leave, and he stayed in Portugal for a while, and now he's moved to Real Betis, who, as we talked about at the end of last year, they ended up in the Europa League, and so they need backup, they need talent, growth, and he's an incredible talent. Even if he never left Portugal, he's really going to improve Real Betis. So I guess what I'm saying in totality is that La Liga is actually going to be very different. I'm very excited to see these players next year. There's some really fun talent to watch going to Barcelona, going to Atletico, going to Real Madrid, and then the new teams in the Europa League. It's going to be very exciting. So silly season is still, strong underway, and these teams have already made big moves, which I think is a good sign for them.
Yeah, you're talking about Barcelona, and one thing I was reading today is Ousmane Dembele, who they just signed this last year for 100 million euros. He's unhappy because Barcelona is going after Malcolm, and Malcolm plays the same position as Dembele, and Dembele had some injury issues, so he wasn't, it wasn't his best season at Barcelona. So I think Barcelona's going for a little bit of depth in that position. But he's annoyed enough where his agent is flying to Barcelona to talk to the ownership and saying, you know what, my guy's a starter, and if he's not a starter, he wants to go somewhere else, and we want you to transfer him. And they said Barcelona's not, they don't really want to do that because they invested heavily in him.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting, between Dembele and Malcolm and Barcelona, and I'm interested to see how that kind of, transpires over the next few weeks and where Dembele is going to end up. He's a great talent. He's just getting off the World Cup, so he's not with the team yet, still resting. Yeah. So he might not even be there for, he might come off the bench at the beginning of the season, which is not going to make him happy whatsoever. So it'll be, that's kind of one possible transfer situation kind of to watch coming out of Barcelona.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good one to be on top of, but both Barcelona and Real Madrid actually picked up really young, really high-level Brazilian talent. And so I didn't really feel like all that talent was for the present. Some of it was for the future. And I think Dembele is being stupid to really worry too much. Or, I think Barcelona, like you said, they're not going to throw away that investment. So we'll see if they're able to force a transfer. Is Barcelona going to lose money? Because that's ridiculous. That they won't want to do that. So
no, I hear you on that, because when Dembele played for Dortmund, one of his things in some of his interviews, he stated, I want to play for Barcelona in the future. That was like his dream team. Now he's there and he's unhappy. It's just like, okay, what's going to make him happy? Does he really want to play for Barcelona because it's his dream team? Or is he playing for the money? What kind of player is he? And you can kind of see maybe what kind of character's coming out right now. Who knows?
Yeah, and of course, like you said, take into account that he was injured all of last year. So we'll see how he comes out of the gates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, good transfers looking there in the Liga. So let's move on to Bundesliga. Charles, you got any transfer news in Bundesliga?
Yes and no. Socrates, he left Dortmund, went to Arsenal, so that's a big pickup. That's a good defender for Arsenal to help them solidify their defense over there. But it's a big loss for Dortmund. Although Dortmund got Favre as their new coach, which makes Royce happy, because Royce played for Favre at Borussia Dortmund, and he said he had his best years at Borussia Dortmund, at Borussia Mönchengladbach. He said he had his best years at Gladbach under Favre. So when he was announced as the new coach to take over Dortmund, he was thrilled. We'll see how he does on the injury situation. He's prone to be injured, but when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in Germany. I know he's happy. That should boost the team. And they kind of getting back to the old German style of football with Favre there as their head coach. So we'll see how that transpires. Leipzig signed Nagelsmann as their head coach, not until the 1920 season next year, but he's on the docket. They have already inked the contract, so he'll be moving over from Hoffenheim to Leipzig next year. So that's a big move. Another big move is Bayern Munich just signed Alphonso Davies from Vancouver Whitecaps for 13 million euros. He's the largest MLS signing in Europe
Canadian.
for an MLS player. So I think at first they're going to give. He's going to start on the reserve team at first because they're going to let him stay with Vancouver because the schedules are opposite. So he's going to stay in the MLS with Vancouver until the season's over, which ends like October, November. And then he's going to join Bayern Munich in January at the start of the second half of the season in Europe. And I think for the first 6 months, from what Bayern management's saying, they're going to probably have him on the reserve team, start learning German, start learning the culture, start learning the team and stuff, and then bring him up to the first team next year, the 1920 season. So we'll see how that transpires there. Other ones, Kovac, brand new coach for Bayern, taking over for Heinkes. He's going to come over from Frankfurt, who beat Bayern in the DFB Pokal, and also now he faces his old team Frankfurt in the Super Cup to start the season, which is the winner of the DFB Pokal versus the winner of the Bundesliga. So now he gets to face his old team after beating the team he's on now. New system. It's more of a little bit more of a direct. He does have possession ball, but it's mostly possession ball going forward. It's a lot more through balls, long balls, a lot more counter-attacking style, but they do still have some of that possession in there, but not a lot of your side-to-side ticky-tacky like Bayern's been playing the last 6 years. So hopefully that bodes well for scoring. We'll have to see. Kovac insisted today that Lewandowski's going nowhere, even though he wants to be traded. That could just be muscling to get more money out of teams for Lewandowski. I know Real Madrid is very interested in him and wants his services. PSG is interested in him. But right now I think Real Madrid's the front runner. But again, coming from the Bayern camp, they say he's not going anywhere this year. So we'll have to see how that goes. Arturo Vidal is linked with Inter Milan. Although there's a sticking point, they feel Bayern's 30 million euro transfer fee is a little bit high for a 30-year-old. So we'll have to see where that ends up. But they said they're still interested. They just want to try to see if they can lower the price from Bayern Munich. And then Boateng is linked. They said negotiations are in process with PSG for Boateng. So we'll see how that goes, and if Boateng actually, he says he wants to leave, and I know there's a few Arsenal says they're also interested in Boateng, but I don't know anymore after gaining would you say Liechtenstein, and also Socrates. So I don't know if there's any room for Boateng on Arsenal. I know Man U was also interested in Boateng. I don't know if they still are, but PSG is the front runner. And like I said, negotiate from what I've been reading, Bayern and PSG are negotiating right now. So that looks like a move that might be imminent.
Has Bayern
Pizarro
already picked someone up for the defense?
No, they have Sula. They picked up Sula from Hoffenheim last year. He played this last year, so he's going to be the starter now over Boateng when he leaves. So it'll be, him and Hummels in the central defense. And again, we'll see how this works because Kovac plays two different type of systems. And I saw both of them in these friendlies here in the United States. He plays a 3-1-4-2, and he plays a 4-1-2-3. So if he plays a 3-back, we'll see how that goes. If he plays a 4-back, it's the normal 4-back there. Bayern also picked up, it won't be till next year, is Pavard from the French national team. He plays with Stuttgart right now. They're going to leave him on Stuttgart. They signed him already, but not until the 1920 season. So we'll see. He's right back. So we'll see where maybe Kovac is thinking about moving Kimmich back to the midfield because he's a natural defensive midfielder. And it was Guardiola who moved him to right back to take Laum's position. He did pretty well, but he has more of an attacking-minded person. He likes to score goals. He likes to be up in the opponent's 18, which leaves sometimes it's a little weak spot for Bayern on that right side of getting beat down that right side because he's up playing offense. So maybe Kovac realizes that, thinking, okay, we're probably going to move him to the midfield. We need a pure right back to take his place. You know, and Pavard seemed to prove himself with the French national team in the World Cup. So we'll see how that goes. Like you said, 39-year-old Pizarro going back to Bremen for the fourth time. Yeah, Bremen. He played for Bayern for a few years, went back to Bremen. He retired. They FC Cologne got his services last year because they were in relegation midway through the season, hoping that he could score some goals for them because that was their big lack was offense. And he, he's only one man. He's 39 years old. There's not much he could do. They got relegated. And so Bremen took him back. He probably won't be a starter, but he's going to be a guy that, maturity, because they have a very young team, maybe more mature presence in the locker room, in training, come in late in the second half, give him some, 15, 20 minutes playing time, see if he can get a goal or two, because he's really good at that, late goals, and, and give him a little bit of experience in the locker room. That's really all I can see. Ard, the guy that Bayern was looking at from Hamburg, since Hamburg got relegated, to also take right, he's a left back. He ended up extending with Hamburg, even though Hamburg got relegated to the second tier, so he won't be coming over to Bayern. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet. There's been a couple swaps. Stuttgart got Castro from Wolfsburg, and then Ginczek went from Dortmund over to Wolfsburg. So a couple little swaps there, but really no big news yet. From the word I got, Bayern wants to offload 4 players, but from what I've heard from these other teams that are interested in those 4 players, Bayern put high price tags on them. So it's like, do they really want to get rid of them, or are they just playing hardball, knowing transfers getting late, maybe get something out of them? But Boateng, Vidal, Bernat, Rudy. Well, I guess he's 5 players, and then Thiago is another one that's on their transfer list. And rumor has it Thiago wants to go back to Barcelona, but I haven't heard anything from the Barcelona camp that they're interested. Guardiola says he's interested. He'd love him to come over to Man City. Man U says they're interested, but Man U's interested in everybody. So I don't know if how much you want to read into that. So they're interested in anybody that's on the block. So. That's pretty much all the transfer news from the Bundesliga right now. So back to you, Derek.
Yeah, thanks. We can jump in right into the Premier League transfer news. Kind of piggybacking off the Bundesliga, let's go straight into talking about Pulisic. I know I read something that Bayern Munich was looking at picking him up, and Liverpool was targeting him as well. I'm not sure how much is rumor and how much is not, but I think it'd be a really good move for Pulisic to go over to Liverpool, to really boost his experience, get to play in the Premier League, and then that would definitely help his USA experience. I also watched a video that he put out with the USA men's team, about how he doesn't want to be looked as a little kid anymore, or he doesn't want to be looked as that kid. He wants to be, well, U.S. men's team. He's already the captain of the USA team. He wants to be looked as the captain for the USA team. He's the man. He's the leader. This is basically his team, and he wants to take them all away. And so I think that could motivate him to a move from Dortmund, because he's been, in Dortmund for so long that everybody might still think him as he's that kid. He's a really good kid, but maybe a move to Liverpool could break that, saying, "Hey, look, this is a really good player that just showed up Premier League, and I think he could really tear it up with Liverpool."
Yeah, I just there's an article on One Football. It says Bayern Liverpool target Pulisic. Pulisic could be sold. I think more the Bayern side is a rumor. They might be interested in him, but I don't really see them going after Pulisic. I think Liverpool's more of a reality going to the EPL. And reading the article, it says Pulisic actually kind of wanted a extension, but talks have stalled between him and Dortmund, which is basically alerting his suitors of, hey, we might be able to get him sooner than later. Dortmund is asking a 70 million euro price tag on him, though.
Fee.
That's a big fee for a 19-year-old player that's up and coming. So I think his contract ends in 2020. So he has this year and next year, 2 more years left on his contract at Dortmund. I think his playing days at Dortmund are pretty much coming to an end. I'd love to see him stay in the Bundesliga. I'd love to see him stay with Dortmund. He's slowly becoming the new face of that organization, but with the price tag and that's going to be coming up on him, there's no way. And I think he's imminent going to the EPL. And if Liverpool or anybody wants him, I think they're going to have to pay big bucks to Dortmund to get him.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, I think Dortmund's maybe up in the price for him a little bit too much, because I think they want to get a little more from him to maybe pull some other players from some other teams so they can
Sure.
their team. Yeah, maybe his price tag's a little too high, in my opinion.
Nah, it's Pulisic. He's what they call him. He's the American Messi, they call him. So hey, let Liverpool spend 70 million on him.
I mean, he'll probably be the most expensive American ever.
Yeah.
So
no doubt.
Yeah. Let's see. Like you mentioned, Charles, we had Socrates go to Arsenal. That was
Good move.
Pretty big move for Arsenal. They're really beefing up their defense since they got rid of. I'm pretty sure they got rid of Mustafi and also Emre Can. So they're trying to boost up their defense a little more. I know, David, you have some thoughts on Arsenal. Do you want to express those?
Yeah, I've actually talked to a bunch of Arsenal fans because with oh my gosh, what's their Emery? What's their coach's name? I'm mispronouncing. Yeah. Anyway, Emery is a totally different style. First of all, literally any change from Wenger is going to be a big change. But Emery is a different style coach. He's very classy. He's done incredible in the Europa League in the past, and actually for all that people have claimed him a failure at PSG, he kept getting them right where they needed to. He just couldn't get them over the hump. So it's going to be interesting that. So like we said, we got Arsenal brought in Socrates. They also brought in Lichtsteiner, and then they brought in one of my favorite players from the World Cup, who is Lucas Torreira. He's been doing incredible, just on the rise in Italy for the past 3 or 4 years. I'm always a little hesitant about people going to the EPL because I feel like it's a make or break thing, and if they break, then sometimes it ruins their career. But this is an incredible player, a little, very classy defensive midfielder that has bite. He plays in Serie A, or he's been playing Serie A. He has the technical and he understands the game. He has the technical prowess along with the what's the word? Like he understands the build and the flow. Like Serie A knows this. You have to have that understanding. So
understands the strategy. Yeah.
Strategy, very high level. And seeing him on the ball is always a delight. And I think if Wenger had been there, I'd be happy with him under Wenger. I don't know how he's going to do under Emery, but Emery still likes classy players. But of course, Emery's going to be under tons of pressure from the Arsenal fans and from everything else. So I know that's a slight deviation from just the pure transfer aspect of it, but there's a really interesting change that's happening in the EPL. Like the past couple of years with like all the really high level coaches that have gone there, and I know we're going to talk about that more. It's been a changed league. It really is different, and I think this is just another example. I don't know how tall Lucas Torreira is, but he's like 21 years old. He's like I'd say like 5'8", like 140, and having him as a defensive midfielder in the Premier League would have been unthinkable even like 5 years ago. So I'm excited, incredibly excited to see him. You're going to be seeing some incredible shots from him if he gets on the field. He'll rip a shot from 40 yards. It'll be incredible. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting what Emery's doing with Arsenal, because if you look what he did at PSG, he's more offensive minded. He got a lot of these offensive players that score a lot of goals, and their weakness was defense. We saw that against Barcelona. We saw that against Real Madrid, even against Bayern in the second leg of the group stage. And here he goes over to Arsenal, and he's signing all these defensive players and defensive midfielders. Maybe he'll learn from PSG, you know what, it starts in the back. I need to be able to shut teams down before I can attack. And so this might be a good thing for Arsenal. Maybe that's how he's going to try to win over the fans, going, look, we're going to do it this way instead of just pure offense.
And it might just be good also to change what Arsenal's style is, because for so many years they've had this failing down the spine. Their midfield, their defense hasn't been great. So it's going to be a shock to everyone in the Premier League to see a new style Arsenal, and I'm excited to see how they'll interact.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned during your little spiel here about the Premier League has changed, and the dynamics have changed. It's not the old Premier League. It's interesting because, one of our compadres, Raymond, that's on the show with us, that's not here today, he was over in England in May, and he took in a championship game in the second tier, and he asked the people over there about that, and one thing they said, if you want English football, you go see Championship. If you want international football, you go see the EPL. And that's that character, that the EPL is more coaches from all over, players from all over. You're starting to see different styles and tactics. But if you want English football, you go watch the second, third tier teams. They play true English football. So it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that the dynamic of the EPL is changing.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting as well. Some really good thoughts there. Moving on to some other transfers in Premier League. I just want to focus on Chelsea a little bit. Chelsea's my team.
Go for it.
And express a lot of frustration. First off, we parted company with Antonio Conte, which personally frustrated the living crap out of me, because Conte coming in to this summer didn't expect to be let go, even though there's every single rumor led to him being fired, being let go, and he didn't give a crap. He's like, this is my team. He came out with a report literally saying that he's like, this is my team right now. I'm going to do with them what I want to do, and right now we're training. He came out and said that, and that's what he did. He went straight to work, even though he knew he's going to be fired. And that just frustrates me like crazy, because Chelsea has been in this flow for about 4 or 5 years now, where we win the league, and then next year we play like crap, we fire our coach, and then we get a new coach the next year, and then we win the league, and then next year we play like crap, fire a coach. It's been like that for like 4 or 5 years now, and the fans are not happy. The fans really want a permanent coach, like Tottenham, for example. Pochettino's been there for so long, even though he hasn't really, he's boosted Tottenham from a like 5 to 7 place team to like a third, maybe 4th place team. So that's that. If you look at it, that's a really big jump. But Pochettino's been there for forever, and he hasn't lost his job. Unlike Chelsea, like yeah, sure we won the league through like 3 times. We keep winning the FA Cup a bunch of times, but we've gone through like 8 coaches. And so I don't know. What the fans' perspective is that something needs to change, and our club needs to stop being run like a business. And that's what most fans complain about, is that Abramovich came in, threw a bunch of money at Chelsea, and ran it like a business. And if you look at Chelsea's roster, okay. So as for the 28th of July, Chelsea has loaned out 17 players. And it's not even like, we still got like 3 weeks left until the season starts, and not even like a month or a month and a half till the transfer window ends. So, and we already loaned out 17 players. And before this, we have like 30 players already out on loan. And numbers are just like insane. So we have like 40 players out on loan. I don't know how many are coming back or how many we sold. Maybe we leveled it out or something. But Abramovich is running this team like a business. And even though we're winning every other year, we don't want to win every other year. We want to be consistent, like not like Tottenham. We still want to win silverware and stuff, but we don't want to like have this non-consistent trend and be this type of club of where we blow through coaches and then we lose players because of that, like Diego Costa. Like there's that huge feud between Costa and Conte, but Costa scored goals, and then we bring in Morata, and some argue that he needs some time to get used to the Premier League, but Morata hasn't adapted as much as Diego Costa did in scoring goals wise. So there's a lot of stuff going on for Chelsea right now. That's just my rant, my spiel.
Yeah, and One Football says Chelsea ditch Rugani plans and bid for another Juventus defender. So they're going after his teammate, Mattia Caldera, instead. Something about Rugani's price tag of 55 mil too high.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of defenders on here, but they said your new coach wants to make changes in the back, so it looks like maybe somebody, 1 or 2 people might be leaving on that defense.
Yeah, see,
so he's looking for somebody else.
That's the other frustrating thing. Like, you bring in a new coach, he wants his own players,
his style players,
and his own style players, and new players coming in. But Conte last season, we already brought in Rudiger. Christian is a homegrown player, Christensen, that came up through Chelsea's academy, and he's amazing.
You brought Luis back,
and David Luiz just got back from an injury, and his little feud with Conte, and he's been starting all the preseason games too, and so it's looking like David Luiz is starting, Zappacosta is starting.
Christian could be the odd man out.
Yeah, but Christian's going to be the odd man out, and we don't want to get rid of Rudiger because he has a lot of pace on him too, and so he's kind of like one of those permanent backups for us now. But it's where's Christensen stand? He's really good defender that we don't really want to get rid of, but we're going after some other defenders, so it's
I agree with you.
They got Ronaldo, so.
I agree with you on the transfer thing. Every new coach wants their specific players. So, for example, Maurizio Sarri from Napoli already brought in Jorginho, who's a classy player who Chelsea doesn't have any central midfielders like him right now. But you're right. Like, now Mauricio Sarri is looking at that and he's like, okay, Conte has some good players, but I need players that can play out of the back a little more and play a different style. And they don't have that. So I love Mauricio Sarri's normal, like I love his Napoli game plan, and I don't know how he's going to do it in Chelsea. So it's an interesting thing, and I agree on your rant. Like, absolutely, there's no way that a team can support changing that many players. The one thing that I disagree with is I think that the loaning out of like 40 players, or whatever, that's Chelsea's. I think it's an unfair game plan, but it's their business model to get by fair play. They invest in like 40 youth, and then like 2 or 3 of them are going to be great, So I think it's unfair because you're preventing all these other clubs from using that talent. But
the main argument with the loan system that Chelsea is using is, from a Chelsea perspective, is that Chelsea's letting too many players slip through their fingers, like Salah, like De Bruyne, Lukaku, 3 really top players from Man U, Man City, and Liverpool, and they're on fire right now. And all of them used to play for Chelsea. And because of the loan system and the style that we have, the business model style that Chelsea has, they slip through our fingers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot to do also with how many coaches we're going through.
Yeah.
Like the coaches were looking at them, okay, they're not right for our system, so they just put them on the bench, loaned them out, and then they come back to Man City, Liverpool, and Man U, and they're really good players.
Yeah.
So something has to change. Sorry.
Well, and your owner has visa problems with England, and he got sent back to Russia. So he's doing all his business from Russia. He's not allowed into England right now. So I don't know how do you think that's going to affect the team and how it's run?
I don't know. I don't think it shouldn't affect it that much, because when Abramovich first took over, like he's looking at London and he's like, okay, what can I invest in? And then he saw like a lot of potential in Chelsea, so he invested in Chelsea. There was a lot of debt that time. Got him out of debt. Like rebuilt the stadium, rebuilt the team. Really helped him out, and now he turned to a business. So I don't know. He's still. I think he still wants to own Chelsea, because it's his hobby. Like he's a really big oil business guy. So
yeah,
I think he likes it, because there's a lot of excitement and a lot of it's just different business for him.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he'll stay for a while. But I don't think visa problems will affect anything. It's my opinion though. Let's go more transfers. The biggest news for transfers has been Chelsea has accepted a bid, supposedly, from Man U for Willian. As a Chelsea fan, this is infuriating, because he's one of our best players, and already rumored to leave is Courtois and Hazard. So if we're getting rid of Courtois, Hazard, and Willian, like where's our attacking and our main defense goalkeeper, like one of the best keepers in the world, arguably. So from that perspective, it's like, okay, where are we going? Like, we need somebody to replace Hazard and Willian and Courtois. Yeah, granted, we got Keane, or not Keane, Green, keeper Green, and then Bolka. Is a pretty young keeper. He's pretty good. He's been showing himself in the International Champions tournament, but not a star like Courtois. So past like 3-4 seasons, or past two like transfer seasons, has been really frustrating for Chelsea fans, because last season we really didn't capitalize as well as we should have in the transfer season, and because the World Cup this year, I think that's why Chelsea hasn't really capitalized on the transfer season as well, and also changing managers. So that's But again, Sarri's bringing in a different style of play, It's not the 3-5-2. He's mainly running a 4-back, and so that's why Christensen may not be getting a lot of playing time, or maybe loaned out or something, because we're not really focused on center backs anymore. We're bringing in traditional right and left backs, kind of what Bayern Munich is doing in the Bundesliga, and so that's a pretty big change for Chelsea, because last 2 seasons we've been playing with Conte, which has the wing back style and stuff, and so it's a pretty big change. Go ahead.
Do you think that Azpilicueta is going to be playing as a back again? Do you know where he's been playing in preseason?
He's been playing. I know he was subbed in for David Luiz.
Interesting.
So center back, because that's where he's been playing the last 2 years for Conte, center back. Because we had Zappacosta and Victor Moses and Alonso, and now we picked up Emerson during winter break last winter transfer season. So we have those as wingbacks, and then we focus more on Christensen, David Luiz, Cahill, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta for our center backs. So we had really good depth in center backs and pretty decent depth in wingbacks. And now you bring in Sarri, and it's a whole different system. And I think players are going to slip through our fingers again, and it's just going to be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But arguably, Azpilicueta is getting kind of old. You can argue too, but has been with Chelsea for a little bit. But he's with Conte's system, he's been rising up and doing really well. And now that Sarri is in, it's a different system. Who knows what's going to happen? Chelsea is definitely thinking of getting rid of Cahill, though. Nobody likes him. Just put it that way. Let's move on to, I guess, one of the big focuses in Premier League and Chelsea transfers is Eden Hazard, as Real Madrid are trying to swoop in and capture him to maybe replace Ronaldo and in his position, and to maybe make up for that in Real Madrid. Do you have thoughts on that, David?
I kind of talked about this beforehand, and I know that Hazard recently said, "Hey, Chelsea, right now would be the time to sell me if you want to recoup money." I think that he'd be a great player. I don't know if Real Madrid needs him right now, and it seems like for the past 2 years at Chelsea, he's been up and down. So he hasn't shown the type of consistency and professionalness that I think Real Madrid want. He has the name and he has the skill, but for 2 years, there was like a whole year that he just disappeared because it seemed like, like you said, maybe the coaching problems, like it just didn't seem to go well. And sure, he turned it on and looked great for Belgium, but that your attitude is lacking. His attitude is lacking. So I don't have any insight on what Real Madrid's thinking. I know that I've talked to a lot of people around the club, and they say that they feel like they already have the pieces they want right now, but it's hard to say no to a player like Hazard. So if Hazard wants to go there and Real Madrid can afford it easily, then they might get him.
Yeah, before the World Cup, Hazard came out and said that he wants to finish out his contract with Chelsea, but his dream is to play for Real Madrid. If not now, definitely in the future.
I don't know if Chelsea's going to let him do that, though, because, if he plays out his contract, then he's a free transfer. So they want to get something for him. So even though they don't want to let him go, I think they're going to be forced, okay, you're going to pay for him if you want him. Mm-hmm. That'd be the smart way to do it, even though you don't really want to let him go.
That's what Hazard was kind of insinuating, that it's necessary to make that change now, even though Chelsea doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, I think, came out with a report today or yesterday. They threw him the captain armband to convince him to stay. So we'll see. We'll see if he accepts that.
I don't understand how Chelsea as a team. Like I love Maurizio Sarri, but if you get rid of Willian, Hazard, and basically all the other danger players. What are you left with?
So what's interesting is some players are already flourishing in Sarri's system, and one of them being Pedro. Pedro has been in Williams' position on the right wing and has been completely dominating. Like his play in the last 2 games has been crazy, and due to the system change of Sarri. So there's definitely going to be a lot of talent lost in the change of system, but I think there's going to be a lot of players that are going to come up too. And a lot of fans are saying they don't really. I don't know if I agree with this. They don't really like Alonso because he's getting a little slower than he used to be. I'm not sure if that was because we had a bad season this last season and Conte wasn't training him as hard as when they won the Premier League season before. But we have this other left back, Emerson, that came from AS Roma, and he has a lot of flair. He's really fast. He works really well with the system with Sarri, so a little depth there. But there's a lot of players. Oh, another player that has flourished, kind of old player for Chelsea, along with Pedro, is Fabregas. Fabregas has had a lot of opportunity to get forward and to attack because they already have the stable back four. So because they already have the stable back four, he is not forced to play that defensive role. Because before you had the wing backs. If the wing backs are already pushed up, you need that extra holding player to come back and hold until those wing backs can come back. Even though you had Conte back there, he always needs help.
Yeah, so I think that it's going to be really exciting to see this different style, and I just hope that, like you said, that it doesn't cause too many problems for Chelsea in the long run. But yeah, I'm excited. That's cool that Fabregas. I need to pay more attention to the preseason friendlies, don't I?
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in our next podcast. We'll get into the International Champions League a little bit. Let's run out of time a little bit. I just want to hit up on some key transfers in the Premier League. One of them being Shaqiri moving to Liverpool. I don't know if you guys watched the last game between Liverpool and Man U, but Shaqiri pulled a bicycle kick in a preseason game.
Yeah, that was great, but
it's crazy.
That was great, but I kind of agree with some of the announcers that were doing that game. It's just like, how is Shaqiri going to fit in that team when you got the top EPL scorer, Salah, playing in his position? He's going to be riding the bench. So it's great that he's with Liverpool, a Champions League team, but how much playing time is he actually going to get? Compared if he would have went to a Leicester City or, another team that he could be a starter on. So that's the only debate there, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think he's definitely trying to prove himself that he's worth something to Liverpool. And
yeah,
I think Liverpool can use him as a really good backup and maybe like a 75th minute sub to give, or even like 60 minutes sub to give Salah like a break, or even providing depth, or if Salah gets re-injured with that shoulder, or he pulls up another injury, they can easily put in Shaqiri, knowing that Shaqiri will score.
And that was one of my.
Oh, go ahead.
That was one of my giant criticisms of Liverpool last year in the Champions League final. That after Salah got injured, like you never really felt like Liverpool had any game changers.
Exactly. And
Shaqiri is not the super dangerous man. Like you don't feel threatened by him, but he can do things. He's got skill.
Yeah. But I'm just worried about how happy he's going to be, because he used to play for Bayern Munich, and that was one of his things is, look, I want to be a starter. I'm tired of coming off the bench in the 70th minute, and because he had Ribéry in front of him. And so that's why he left to go to the EPL to be that starter. Obviously, Stoke got relegated. Now he's back in the exact same situation he was with at Bayern Munich. So I'm just interested to see how that's going to play out, and then maybe how long he's actually going to stay at Liverpool before he gets tired of riding the bench.
Yeah. Really good to see Liverpool picking up a lot of people, too. They picked up Fabinho from Monaco, Naby Keita from
Leipzig. That's a good
Leipzig.
pickup. He's a goal scorer.
And, yeah, also Alisson Becker from AS Roma. So Liverpool and Arsenal are really strengthening their teams, and it's really going to be interesting to see where they go this season. Also, Manchester City, another big transfers. Manchester City picked up Mahrez from Leicester.
Oh yeah,
Which is kind of surprising to me that Leicester let him go because they're their main player. So let's see how Leicester does there.
And real quick before we jump into that, I'd like to comment on the Liverpool. You said they picked up so many players. Clearly, I put it in the framework of the Champions League, but now let's look at it in the framework of the Premier League. Everyone last year, all they could talk about was how many light years ahead Man City was of the rest of the league. They said Man City is so far ahead of everyone else. Liverpool is the only team that I see doing the right thing, which is saying, hey, we clearly didn't have what it takes, even though one-on-one, Liverpool against Man City was like Liverpool was actually favored in those matchups. But they didn't have what it took to win the marathon that was the whole Premier League. So these transfers are absolutely what they need. They're strengthening in all the spots. Their depth is going up, but their quality in the starter spot is getting better. So they're the only ones that I see really making those changes. Like the other teams, I think, are being way too complacent. So I'm happy for Liverpool right now. They're making the right decisions.
Yeah. So those are the two main teams for me that are taking advantage of the transfer window for Premier League right now. Is Arsenal and Liverpool. Let's see if I got any.
Tottenham's not making hardly any moves.
They never.
And and this and this the rumor with Gareth Bale leaving Real Madrid to go back to Tottenham, I guess, is at least, unless they're just posturing. But by Tottenham, they say no, he's not coming here. That's a pipe dream. And now it looks like Gareth Bale might be staying at Real Madrid, from what the rumors are saying, that now that Ronaldo's gone, that he can get more spotlight, playing time, whatever you want to call it. Where at the beginning, the end of last year, they said both of them are definitely gone. They're both leaving the club, but now it looks like Gareth Bale might be staying at Real Madrid and not coming back to the EPL. So we'll have to see. We still have a few more weeks of transfer season, but it doesn't look like he's going anywhere.
And if you do want to talk about it like that, I would say that Tottenham probably does need to make a transfer. Like they grabbed Lucas Moura from PSG last year during the winter transfer, and he's really paying off now, and he's going to continue to pay off. But I think they need to probably grab one or two other players just to really continue to push themselves, even though they always do bring through a lot of youth. I'm actually, if you've noticed, Fulham has made some good moves, so pay attention to them.
Yeah, Schürrle came over from Dortmund to Fulham, and he played for Chelsea. Then he went to Wolfsburg, then Dortmund. Now he's back in the EPL with Fulham.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I really like Schürrle.
So do I.
He's a really good player. All right, so I think that wraps up this transfer podcast. Make sure you guys watch out for our next one next week. Keep up the transfers. And we'll see you next time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button. We'll see you guys later.